When I heard that the Saxon Pub was moving in early 2015, I was concerned that we were losing yet another great place, another great Austin music venue. Lost so many through the years, and this Saxon Pub is it's a legendary place. It's a home for many of Austin's musicians.
I've been working with Jeff on the Hall of Fame stuff with all the bio videos we do, and he had mentioned that he wanted to try a project of doing a film, and he asked would it be okay to do the story of our place since we were going to be closing. I thought he'd try to archive some of the history here and interview a lot of people and have something to put down.
The club owners typically don't own the land that their clubs sit on, so it's not up to them what happens a lot of times in their situations. And it's just an affordability issue between taxes, rent, insurance.
It really started stepping up as far as me witnessing the problems for musicians finding housing. That was the biggest thing at first. And then, of course, the property taxes started going crazy, and we started seeing people lose their venues over the fact they couldn't afford the rents and not being able to renew the leases because people were selling the land to build skyscrapers, etc. So I'd say in the last 15 years it's really escalated.
But something happened a couple years into shooting that was a pretty nice little twist to our story, and that is Gary Keller of Keller Williams Realty stepped in and bought the property that the Saxon sits on. After he did that, he had a conversation with Joe Abels, the owner, and he said, listen, man, I bought the property. Would you think about just staying here? I would hate to see another place like the Saxon Pub go away.
Well, we always thought we had a story to tell because we always thought it was sad that a lot of the other iconic clubs really didn't have a lot of history documented, like La Zona Rosa or any number of the Antone locations. So we always thought we had that story, but we never really thought it, would have a crescendo and, a peak to the story and a different ending. So when we found out that they weren't going to have to move was really a turning point for us.
It's a challenge of every music doc is to tell there's kind of parallel stories going on, tell the small story and also tell the bigger picture.
It took us about 2 minutes to figure out this is a better story. This is a bigger story. Let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about the problems. Let's talk about the places we've lost and why.
And a lot of times that's what you want as a documentary filmmaker. We planned X and Y happened and we did Z. So a lot of times those make for the best stories, and I think in the end that helped us a great deal.
We managed to get the 5 club owners, the owners of the Continental Club, Antone's, Broken Spoke, the Saxon Pub, and Threadgill's together around a table at Threadgill's world headquarters. Well, that was all Lisa Kay's doing.
That was really hard. That took months and months and months, and then we finally got it all together, and the week of the original filming, one of the club owners got sick and we had to scrap the whole thing. So we had to start over again. And trying to schedule them and us and a crew at a time that worked for Threadgill's when they weren't that busy, that was really, really hard.
And I got involved when Jeff and I were working on a show together, which was the really early days of the film when it was basically just him, maybe Lisa at that time. He had the whole project in front of him and needed some help, and we were buddies. He knows what I do, and so he asked me, and I was very excited to join the project.
And the footage was really compelling, Like, I've never had the luxury of having 3 cameras on so many shoots. Like, every performance almost was 3 cameras, and you're just like, which camera do I want to use today? It was really well shot, so that was really nice.
We added Jeffrey Brown after we found out that the pub wasn't going to close, and kind of when we were picking an editor is when we added Jeffrey Brown, and he's a professional producer.
I knew a little bit about the fact that Gary Keller had stepped in and had, let's say, saved the Saxon Pub. Jeff and Lisa Kay were closer to it because they had been working on it, and so I got a little bit closer to the details of it.
Jeffrey Brown just always had so much energy, and Jeff and I are really easygoing, so it's kind of a good balance.
We're brainstorming together with what Jeff wanted the end result to be, and at that time, of course our story was really more of a tribute to the Saxon Pub because we knew it was going to have to be moving or it would have to close. And so he was describing what the end looked like, and so we just worked backwards from there. What needs to happen? We need to get money, we need to get the musicians involved because we knew that that would build excitement and build a funding base for us for our Kickstarter.
To prepare for our Kickstarter campaign, we thought it would be a really cool idea to put out a call for all the people who play regularly at the Saxon, and we told them we're going to take a group picture of you guys.
We organized everybody here to do the big photo shoot with all the players. That was memorable because of everybody showed up. That was a pretty good thing for me to see, and I'll never forget it.
We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know who would show up for the photo. We thought, maybe 10, maybe 12 if we were lucky. We had something like 40 people that showed up for that picture. And so we ended up running a successful Kickstarter campaign.
And there was a great willingness to help us from not only everyone at the Saxon, but the musicians as well.
The final piece of the puzzle, which came in the last 8 months of production, was hiring Nancy Higgins as our editor.
I find the biggest challenge in editing just managing all your material.
We shot so much.
I think we shot something like 200 hours of footage between everything, B-roll, interviews, performances.
So we kind of just made a list of what I should start with so I wouldn't get too overwhelmed, and then we kept expanding and expanding. That was really fun, actually, to work on a documentary with so many performances that were so great.
And that's the challenge, is really telling a story and not falling into what a lot of music films fall into, is just a lot of anecdotes and performance, and trying to work really hard on telling an actual story.
When we first started shooting this thing, I pictured it taking 2 years tops. I was way off. It took 4 years.
A large part of that was when the pub got bought by Gary Keller. That changed our ending, so we had to go back and rework quite a few things and get a couple of different interviews and just twist around the story a little bit. Some of the delay in it came from funding, where we had to raise some more money in the middle of it.
This film business is kind of pricey, and to do a good film, which this gentleman did, along with Lisa and Jeffrey and Nancy, turned out to be quite a job to get this thing going, and they did it.
And thankfully the staff and Leah were wonderful with opening the club a gazillion times early for us, so that we could do interviews before the pub was open, to avoid sound problems. Then of course when we were filming live performances, Richard Van Oy, the sound man, he's just a dream. He's the sweetest man, and he would always hand over his recording of that particular performance that night, which is one of the reasons the sound of the performances are just so good in the film.
I was really pleased at how well it turned out, and how well it was received, and it had some emotion to it, people would get teary, and so that's always a good thing if you're like making people feel something.
I think the value can point out to people that there is a problem, and although this has a great feel to it, it's emotional and all that, but people walk out of there, in my opinion, knowing now, well, you know what, let's pay attention to this. What's going on in this town? I think that's the value. It's a great message, and it was delivered very well.
There's not huge egos, I don't think, on this film. I think we were just thrilled to be in South by.
It was a long shot. They had like 8,000 films submitted, and they only picked 350 or so. So when we got the call, I was speechless.
And then we found out that we were premiering at the Paramount Theater on top of that.
When we got to 7th Street turning left on Congress, I know this line going down the block, and then as we turned, we saw the Paramount, we saw another line going the other way, and my daughters are asking, what is this? I said, well, there's something else going on here, and I was looking at the marquee trying to read what was the big thing going on, and when we pulled up right in front and we got out and everybody started applauding, that was kind of special.
We hadn't screened the film before, and so it was electric. It was great. It was probably the best premiere I've been a part of. Partly because our expectations were so realistic of, if we just get some people in here. And then it was packed and people were clapping, and it was just an electric atmosphere. It was just kind of a great day, and I think we were so pleasantly surprised. It exceeded all our wildest expectations, and so that was exciting. It was great.
And then you can sit there and watching this. While I was watching, I was reflecting on, wow, this has been a long time. This has been quite a run.
When we were at the after party here at the Saxon, I remember talking to somebody, I think it was Jeffrey, and we were both of the same mind, which was this couldn't have gone any better.
It's the film that lasts. And so I think we'll be able to look at the film in the future and say, hey, I think it will stand the test of time.
I'm sitting here in the Saxon pub right now. This could be a condo I'm sitting in. This could be a Chipotle right now. But I don't think I don't think that's going to support the culture as a Saxon pub would.
Well, the Saxon, it starts off with being in a town that has great talent that you maybe can solicit sometimes to play, which we do.
It gives people something to talk about when they come out of the cinema, and that's been great. You know, so it's bringing the issues to the forefront. People move to Austin, Texas, partly or primarily because of music. And so if it's the live music capital of the world and all these clubs are closing, there's a problem here.
This is a great community, and it's familial. That all comes across, I think, in the film, but also in the making of the film, and it's a cool community to kind of be part of.
I think the most positive thing about this movie for me was it's just the gratitude I have for all the people and all the accolades and the love that we got back from it. You don't get a chance to see that sometimes or even know it's there. You feel it maybe, but when you see people in a film talking about you and your family and your staff and how great it is, it's very rewarding. That is probably the main thing.
These mom and pop places are going away, and you know, we need them. This world is just a much better and more interesting place with the Saxon pub in it.